Diddy's plan to escape prison exposed? Ladies and gentlemen, they've gone over the edge. Let's get into some of this straight game.
Blackjack. Life is like those cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY Richardson, Platinum Artist, Platinum Songwriter, Straight Game TV. I thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. And like I said, hit the thumbs up button. Also, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And like I always say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please do me a favor and click on what appears to be that little bell notification right below this video, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, look. And I need you guys to pay real close attention to what's going on. Once again, I have to do this because to reveal something is to enlighten, right? Is to illuminate, is to shine light on, right? And that's what I do in this instance, ladies and gentlemen. You now have Tisa Tells basically saying that she is exposing Diddy's plan to escape prison, ladies and gentlemen. And the feds just got warning and they called her and let her know about it. And so that she could go on YouTube and tell y'all, ladies and gentlemen, that is a bunch of poppycock. That is a bunch of crattle. Ladies and gentlemen, it is simply not true. And the title in itself on the video is what tantamounts to clickbait. Because she's not talking about none of those things, ladies and gentlemen. Did he plan to escape? Let's get into some of this straight game, ladies and gentlemen. And I need you to understand, right? Tisa Tells is now claiming, ladies and gentlemen, that Diddy has a secret escape plan or had a secret escape plan and that the feds have been warned. They have been warned. This is what the new clickbaitish title, like I said, that Tisa Tells is pushing. Let that sink in for a minute. You know what I mean? Not even for a minute, for a couple of seconds, because I wouldn't want to fry your brain with the thinking of that, right? But let that sink in for a second, right? She says Diddy escape in federal custody, right? Diddy escape federal custody, ladies and gentlemen. Like it's Prison Break, the hip hop edition. You see what I'm saying? So that's how she says, and the title, Diddy escape prison, and the feds, right? Like it's Prison Break, the hip hop edition. You remember the TV show, right? But here's the real headline, ladies and gentlemen. There's no credible evidence. There's no credible evidence, ladies and gentlemen. No credible source, no law enforcement confirmation, and no public record of such a warning. Just accusations of people who have information that has not been confirmed or disclosed on Tisa Tells' YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen. I need you to understand that. And the funny part is if you listen to her, you can tell she's reading from a script. You can tell that she's reading from a script. See, that's why she's not live when she's doing it, because she's reading from a script, ladies and gentlemen. There's no credible source, no law enforcement confirmation, and no public record of such a warning. So let me break it down. Let me break it down and break it apart in little pieces so that you understand where I'm coming from, ladies and gentlemen. And I get it, but this is a hell of a crazy, wild claim, You got to think about what that, like, if it's a secret prison break, if you will, then how does Tisa Tells know? Who told her? But then when you look at the video, you see that the video is not really on what the title says. Right? It's shock and awe. And once you get in there, it's like, oh, man, she got me again, right? So in the recent YouTube upload, Tisa tells release a video titled, Diddy's plan to escape at prison exposed. Feds just got a warning, right? Basically she's claiming the federal agent received a warning that Sean Combs may attempt to flee justice, right? And you know what? The funny part about this is, as I listened to it, right? She had made claims in regards to no witness tampering being filed. Ladies and gentlemen, witness tampering was a part of the predicate felons under the RICO Act, and it involved mainly with Mia. So as I listened to the video, I know that she was reading from some script that she didn't fully read before she started to disseminate it to you. These are facts, ladies and gentlemen, right? She was like, oh, there's no, I wonder if they're saving it until sentencing. Like, saving what until sentencing? Guess what? That goes to show you what I was telling you in the video yesterday, that she didn't actually, or her refusing to look at the court transcripts, she doesn't really know what was going on, right? That's, you wait for sentencing to say something about something being alleged about witness tampering? That was already made and charged with Mia, dealing with the young lady by the name of Mia, ladies and gentlemen. So I know that this was a script she was reading from. I don't know who's giving her the scripts, but she was damn sure reading from one, right? Like I said, she also said that the sources are connected to the case fear that Diddy will use private connections or offshore setup. Right? Think about that for a minute. Right? The sources doesn't reveal them. We don't know who they are. The sources connected to the case fear that Diddy will use private connections or an offshore setup. If Diddy was going to leave, he would have left a long time ago when he found out that he was under investigation, when they asked him to turn himself in, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, he came to New York and they arrested him a couple of days earlier. But Tisa tells will tell the world that Diddy's now trying to escape. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. So let me make it harder for myself. Let me try to break out of prison and then escape. Like I said, it's a bunch of lies, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why, like I said, one needs to be enlightened, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just trying to tell you, check it out now. And also says that plans are already in motion for a potential escape from prosecution or incarceration. This is what she was alleging. I'm telling you. I don't know if this was an old video that she forgot to put out. But like I said, once again, simply not true. Diddy has been convicted of two charges of the Mann Act, ladies and gentlemen. Escape for what? It would be to his detriment to escape before the trial, or now even crazier afterwards. But this is what Tisa Tells is pushing, ladies and gentlemen. I got to come back. And like I said, for all of the people like, leave Tisa Tells alone. Oh, no. I'm not messing with Tisa Tells. When Tisa Tells gets on YouTube and reports anything erroneous, false, right? Or that simply didn't happen, she opens herself up to public scrutiny. What do you mean? You know what I mean? And a lot of people who come to my page and leave those type of comments, if you want to be delusional, you can go right back over there to Tisa Tells. You ain't even got to watch my video. Let it be known. This is optional. This is not mandatory, ladies and gentlemen. To hear some of this straight game is optional. I need you to understand that, right? This is not about feelings. This is about facts, right? Listen, but what Tisa Tells doesn't say, where this information came from, right? She says all of these things, that the federal agents received a warning that Sean Combs may attempt to flee justice, that sources connected to the case that said that Diddy might use private connections or offshore setup, and that the plans are already in motion for potential escape from prosecution or incarceration. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 + 2 is 4. I think you know that, but I say that to say, Diddy already been convicted. Why you even put out a video like this? Right? So it's irrelevant, but like I said, once again, it's nothing but shock and awe, right? But what Tisa Tells didn't say, is where she got the information from. Where did the information come from? She didn't tell you. She didn't tell you. Sources. You know what I mean? Who's the federal? Who the federal sources are, ladies and gentlemen, that are talking to Tisa Tells, telling her, right? Or any credible documentation, news coverage, or official statements, ladies and gentlemen. There are none. There are none, because best believe she would be the first one to try to show you and explain it in a whole nother light, right? So in short, ladies and gentlemen, in short, it's fiction masquerading as facts. That's simply what it is. It's fiction masquerading as facts. And like I said, that's the reason why I do this. That's the reason why I'm coming to you right now. Like I said, once again, she had called, people broke, stupid, and all of these other things. Like I said, I mean, hey, that's her opinion. Once again, well, let her tell it. We can't tell opinions from lies, right? Check it out. Let's check the facts, ladies and gentlemen. Let's check the facts, right? Let's do what she didn't do. Let's check the record. We're going to check the record right now, right? There are no federal filings mentioning an escape risk designation for Sean Combs, ladies and gentlemen. Did you hear that? There's a process to the information that Tisa Tells is trying to convince you that happened or that's happening that didn't happen. I'm going to say it again. There are no federal court filings, ladies and gentlemen, that mention an escape risk designation for Sean Combs. Right? The Department of Justice, U.S. Marshal Service, and the Southern District of New York have released no statements indicating any such plot. Neither, nothing, zero, zilch, right? No mainstream media outlet, including Reuters, NBC, CNN, or even gossip sites like TMZ or anybody else, have reported this claim, ladies and gentlemen. Right? Please, let's understand what's going on. It appears it came from nowhere. It came from nowhere. And the things that she's talking about in this specific video, like I said, the one thing in particular was in which she said that was something about Diddy wanting to pay for certain people's lawyers. These aren't people that, that just work for him. These are people that said that he assaulted him. Ladies and gentlemen, that was dealt with in the case. Mia made that accusation as to DELRAY, right? Diddy was found not guilty of that. But Tisa Tells simply just can't let go. She can't let go. She can't let go. And like I said, once again, it appears that this story came from nowhere because no other major news organization, Reuters, CNN, NBC, gossip sites, TMZ, or nobody else has reported on this. It appears it came from nowhere. Or worse, right? From a place of desperation, clicks, shock, and monetization. I'm going to tell you once again. Or worse, it came from a place, where she's desperate for clicks, trying to shock you, or the monetization of YouTube, right? Got to make that money, man. Right? Because Tisa, listen, because if Tisa Tells actually had proof, think about it, y'all, of a federal escape warning, she'd share the screenshot. Number one, wouldn't she? Think about it. If you had documentation that proving that there was something like that exists, she would share the screenshot. She always do when she thinks she got something that doesn't nobody else have, right? She would drop some audio. We've seen her take her little camera, her little microphone, and be like, listen to this. Did she do that? No. Right? Or she would leak a redacted document. It might be official, but it's redacted. We've seen none of that, ladies and gentlemen. And the shame on her to title her video, Diddy's Plan to Escape from Prison exposed. Feds just got the warning. This is bad. They just got the warning and they gave it to her. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said to you right now, there is no documentation, no proof, no nothing, ladies and gentlemen. The only thing that is running on this video of hers is prior clips from Diddy and Cassie in various situations, ladies and gentlemen. Right? Right? There's no documentation leading to any kind of escape, ladies and gentlemen. None. Right? None. Zero. Zilch. Right? And so when you understand that, the argument is simply sad. And like I said, it reeks of desperation for clicks, shock, and monetization. Right? Because if Tisa Tells actually had proof, what would she show us? You know, snapshot, some kind of document, some kind of... No. There's a document on the video, ladies and gentlemen, but it has nothing to do with what she's saying. It has nothing to do with what she's alleging. Arguing that the communications are privileged, the court reviewed the parties' arguments as well. And like I said, the document that she's alleging to was filed in March 11th, 2025, right? Basis substantially for the reasons set forth in the terms of the brief, finds communication are not privileged on any doctrine. Combs invokes a common interest rule. And like I say once again, it's nothing, ladies and gentlemen. It is nothing. It is a bunch of smoke, not even smoke. It's a bunch of mirrors. It's a bunch of mirrors, ladies and gentlemen. Let me give you some of this straight game. But listen, right? There's no redacted documents, or at least the site of a news outlet. Like I said, TMZ, nobody else reporting on this. Nobody else, ladies and gentlemen. You know, please understand what I'm trying to tell you. And you know, the real danger, as I always pointed out to you, not Diddy, but disinformation, right? Disinformation. Now listen, Diddy is facing real allegations, right? Or better yet, has been convicted, should I say, of two of the lesser charges that he was charged with, allegedly that he had committed, right? He's not under investigation anymore, right? Right. He's not under, as far as we know, for trafficking, abuse, coercion, and exploitation. You know, that part of the game is over, right? And those are very, very serious allegations that were leveled against him, right? But when people like Tisa starts to fabricate side stories like escape plots, it does actual harm. It really does. Think about it. An escape plot. What she's trying to do is she's trying to muddy the waters. Ooh, escape plot. Why would he escape? And like I said, for those who can really think past go, he would have did that long time ago, right? Or better yet, not even that. You know what Diddy would have did? Diddy would have took that plea bargain that they gave him, right? So then all of a sudden you can do your time, start doing. That didn't happen. He took it to trial, right? He took it to the steps of the Southern District of New York federal court building, and he came out in what some say is victorious, and some say, oh, they're gonna give him 20 years. So that argument has yet to, those results have yet to be found out. Or what are the results of what kind of time he gonna get, right? Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, but when people like Tisa Tells start fabricating side stories, escape plots, it does actual harm, ladies and gentlemen, right? It does actual harm, ladies and gentlemen. It distracts from real charges of real victims and the evidence, ladies and gentlemen, right? It fuels the conspiracy theorists and that whole culture of every time people hear something, there's got to be this ulterior motive. There got to be something else behind it, right? Other than what we're seeing and other than what's being presented in our face at that particular time, right? It weakens public trust also, right? Look, and platforms trying to uncover the truth. For the platforms out here trying to really cover the truth, with no bias or nothing like that, simply just trying to get the word out, it kind of weakens the public trust. And it'll start to dwindle, right? And let's not forget, if there were actual escape risks, the feds wouldn't be leaking it to YouTubers, ladies and gentlemen. They just simply wouldn't. They wouldn't be leaking it to Tisa Tells because they know she gonna tell it, right? Tisa Tells, get it? They know she gonna tell it, right? So if there were actual escape, if Diddy was an actual escape risk, or he had escape plans, or trying to escape from prison, the feds wouldn't be telling YouTubers, ladies and gentlemen. They'd be acting quietly and strategically. So when the title says feds just got warning, and like I said, when they warned, the feds got the warning and they hit Tisa with this information. No, I'm sorry, they didn't do that. Right? Right? So when you understand it, look, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't a movie. This is not a movie. It's federal law, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a Hollywood production. This is not a Netflix production. This is not Netflix and chill. This is not none of those things. It's federal law, right? And Diddy is one of the most tightly guarded inmates in the MDC right now. So when this, another thing that you need to think about, because I know you probably didn't think about it, that, he's one of the most tightly guarded. He had 4 U.S. Marshal with him at all times. You think they trying to let happen to Diddy what happened to Jeffrey Epstein? Absolutely, positively not, right? So please understand that for what that is, right? This manufactured drama for manufactured views. You understand what I'm saying? It's manufactured drama for manufactured views, ladies and gentlemen, right? Let's be real. Tisa Tells' channel has pivoted from journalism to performance, or from podcasting or YouTubing to performance, ladies and gentlemen. Tisa Tells' YouTube channel has pivoted from podcasting, reporting on things, to basically to performance. I'm listening. And like I said, and the reason why I listen, because, I thought that, at one time she was a source of information, but once I started to listen, I was like, oh, wow, she's just saying anything. Anything. And so, like I said, Tisa Tells has gone from reading court transcripts a few times, and not the transcripts that the court was trying to get her doing the case, but some of the stuff that she basically wrote herself. They weren't even court transcripts. These were basically like she's doing side stories. These were side notes. So I wouldn't even say she was reading the court transcript. Not side notes, or basically her own transcripts, right? To ignoring them because of personal feelings. Huh? Once again, like I said, she went from reading court transcripts to ignoring them because of her personal feelings. And there was one time she was kind of coming from the documentation. She was like, the hell with that. You know what I mean? And like I said, the point in which she switched, you got to ask yourself why. Because she was saying Diddy paid somebody $60,000. Well, my thing is, why the quick pivot on how she was doing what she was doing, right? To turning out to just ignoring the court transcripts to just deal with her personal feelings. Now, right? So that's the question you got to ask yourself. And now she's gone from that to reporting verified events, right? She doesn't even report verified events anymore. It doesn't even matter. This is the title of the video, and this is what I'm gonna do, because guess what? They come to check me out and listen to what I gotta say, right? She's gone from reporting verified events to fictional narratives, ladies and gentlemen. Fictional narratives and about fugitives and federal chases. Ladies and gentlemen, Tisa Tells has gone from reporting verified events, right, basically, to fictional narratives about fugitives and federal chases. Wow. Amazing. It's amazing, man. And, you got to understand something, man. It's one thing to come on YouTube and, try to, give people your spin, your opinion on certain issues and things like that. But it's another thing, man, to just cold create a story, and or should I say, make a YouTube post, and the title on it should be just clickbait, warning, clickbait, warning, clickbait. But no, like I said, fictional narratives now, right, about fugitives and federal chases that haven't happened, that the government or no real respectable news outlet has reported on, ladies and gentlemen. The Diddy case is over, as far as we know, right? He's waiting for sentencing, ladies and gentlemen. You know, this isn't exposure, it's exploitation. It's exploitation of the moment, ladies and gentlemen. It's exploitation of the moment. Tisa Tells is exploiting the public's hunger for drama and discrediting real investigative work by flooding the space with fantasy. Point blank, period. That's what she's doing. You know what I mean? So when you understand that part, it's pure fiction, pure fantasy, and like I said, she's basically exploiting the public's hunger for drama. But there's really no drama to be had. It sounds like it is, but it's nothing. There's a nothing there. There's what they call it, a nothing burger, right? So like I said, this escape prison exposed, the feds got warning, this is bad. Ooh, it's like, this is bad. Bad for who? Bad for what? That's the craziest part about this, right? Why would Tisha push a lie like this, right? Simple. Engagement, ad revenue, shock value, right? Engagement, ad revenue, and shock value. Tisa Tells knows the algorithm rewards chaos. You see what I'm saying? I know that too, but I don't have to bring you chaos. All I got to do is bring you straight game. You know what I mean? And it will make the situation chaotic enough. Because guess what? You'll be able to match that up with the manufactured chaos and really get the information that cools and soothes, but also is chaotic in itself because it's the truth, right? The truth is in itself is chaotic, right? Because there's a situation that went on in between and where you reach the truth. You get it? So from that perspective, ladies and gentlemen, yes, indeed, right? Hold on, but my thing is I got to ask this. Tisa knows the algorithms rewards chaos, right? And what's more clickable than this? Diddy's escape plan exposed. Huh? What escape plan? Well, I got to see this. You know what I mean? You know, and so when you understand that, you get it, right? But what happens when truth starts to matter again? What happens when people start to wake up and realize she's selling sensationalism over substance? Right? What happens then? What happens? You know what she's going to do? Let me ask you that again, because I don't think y'all heard me. What happens, right? When the truth starts to matter again, what happens when people wake up and realize Tisa Tells is selling sensationalism over substance? You know what she's going to do? She's going to start blaming her imaginary sources, right? Blame the imaginary source, right? Ladies and gentlemen, she's going to backpedal, right? She's going to change the narrative, right? She'll say, I was just asking questions, ladies and gentlemen. These are all the things that she's going to do. But the damage has already been done. And the money for the videos have already been made. You don't get that back. But like I said, some people have an insatiable appetite for lies because sometimes lies are more entertaining than the truth, if you will, right? So like I said, man, you know, when you think about this, I just want everybody to do me a favor. Do me one favor. Stay grounded in reality, ladies and gentlemen. Right? It's more beneficial. Stay grounded in reality, right? Right? And here's the bottom line. Sean Diddy Combs is facing a serious legal heat. We already understand that. We already understand he's been convicted of 2 counts of violating the Mann Act, right? That's what the jury of his peers said he was guilty of, right? But he's not escaping federal prison, ladies and gentlemen. He's not planning, right, on an offshore rescue, you know, or none of these other things that Tisa tells us trying to get you to believe, ladies and gentlemen. No plan to escape federal prison. No plan for an offshore rescue, right? There's no proof, no plan, no truth to none of these things that are being said. What we do have is a creator abusing their platform for views while the real victims and real journalists, podcasters get buried under a mountain of manufactured mess. That's what we have. That's what we have, ladies and gentlemen, each and every day. You can see it. You know, the hype, and like I said, with this particular video, there's really nothing in it. There's a bunch of footage from Wendy Williams' show and all of these other things, right? Listen, this is your reminder right here, ladies and gentlemen. Don't confuse somebody being loud with them being honest. I'm going to say it again. Don't confuse somebody being loud with somebody being honest, ladies and gentlemen. Don't confuse viral, somebody going viral, with being verified. I'm going to say it again. Do not confuse somebody going viral with somebody being verified, right? And never confuse a storytelling, right, with truth. You hear me? I'm going to say it again. Never confuse storytelling with truth, or better yet, truth-telling. Never confuse the two. Storytelling is one thing, right? You tell a story. But the truth-telling is a totally different other. And we must remember that, ladies and gentlemen. Always stay grounded in the truth or seeking the truth so that you are better equipped to make an informed decision about your own conversations. Because when we engage in conversations with people, we want to be able to come from a place of being informed. And hopefully that we can share that enlightenment in a conversation with other people and not just spread a bunch of vitriol and craziness, if you will, right? Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in today. You know, your boy DELRAY, straight game.
Life is like those cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.